want you to think about, if you are a parent or if you had to answer for your parents, we've been asking parents, what is the highest level of sport you think your child will play? Youth, high school, college, or pro? Okay? What percentage of parents do you think answer that their children will play on the high school team?
80%.
80? Any?
100%.
100%. Okay? So it's high, right? It's about 67%, and this is consistent. It doesn't matter what the sport is or whether it's boys or girls, but 66% of parents at the, I'll say the U8 and the U10 level think their kid's going to play on the high school team. Now if you do the math, now you can see where some of the problems arise. I did a little bit of the math. If 66,000 girls play youth hockey, and I went on the National Federation of High School website and got their numbers, about 13.6% of all the girls playing youth hockey will play in high school. And really few of them will play college, and I'll get to those stats in a minute. Now you might have seen this graph, but this is an NCAA resource. You can find it on their website under their ncaaresearch.org, which is a little bizarre that the NCAA has a research arm, but I won't talk about that right now. But if you look at men's hockey, they don't even have women's hockey up here, but 36,900 high school athletes, that's out of the National Federation of High School website. There's 9,022 girls that play high school hockey. There's about 4,000 male hockey players and about 2,000 female hockey players. And I'm showing you this data because one of the problems with parents is that everyone thinks their kid's going to get a college scholarship. You have to educate them that this is not going to happen for a large percentage of kids. Because a lot of problems arise from that. And if they have the data, it's not to say, look, we don't want you to join USA Hockey because they're not going to play college. That's not my point. But we want your kid in hockey because it's good for their youth development and their health and well-being. And they can make friends. All the things we've been talking about, which is what I love about the ADM. So let's do it by the numbers for the girls. This many in USA Hockey, if I followed the presentation right. This many girls play high school hockey. This many girls play college hockey. This many girls play Division I hockey, 824. Now, I heard someone say that 40% of our college hockey players are foreign. So leaving U.S. hockey players, that's 494 U.S. citizens. So let's do the math here. What percentage of youth female hockey players will play Division I hockey?
Less than 1%.
0.07. And a lot of women that play D1, they don't get a full ride. They might be on a partial.
And actually, you should divide that by 4, because if you're looking at their age group in particular, as they're graduating from high school, because they only represent the incoming freshman class, and so if there's 500, that would be seniors down to freshmen, I'm assuming.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so this is not those statisticians in the audience are like, well, I don't know about that. This is, in general. The point is, not many, right? So our job then in the ADM is, look, we want people to play hockey because there's a lot of other benefits they can accrue from playing hockey other than getting a college scholarship. They can develop physical literacy, they make friends, they learn life skills, they're healthy, right? So getting parents to stop with this mentality of, well, I put all this money into hockey, I'm getting a return on my investment. This is very dangerous because remember, parents' influence on beliefs and values and expectations, if they're playing because they think that you've dumped all this money into them and now they have to keep playing, they feel trapped, they don't have a choice whether to play or not, that is not fostering intrinsic motivation. I'm playing because I love it and it's inherently fun and rewarding. So getting parents to shift their mentality is really important. And I know that's a big challenge, but I find this to be true in a lot of places. So giving them the numbers helps a little bit. But then, you know, every parent is like, well, but my kid's the .07. Okay. We'll talk to you in 8 years. Now, back to mothers and fathers' influence. We find that fathers tend to be what we call active role models. They influence their kids. They're usually the ones in the backyard, doing the physical activities, coaching, being in positions of power, influencing the lives of kids. That's an important influence. This is in general. Mothers, on the other hand, are what we call supportive roles. They're signing their kids up. They're getting the equipment. They're driving to and from. They're getting the snacks together. They're making sure that everybody's where they need to be. Also a very important role. Not as valued as the head coach. But what we need in the lives of girls is that girls desperately need females in positions of power. Coaches, club directors, okay? We need to see women on the ice in positions of power. And we need to see active female role models. And boys need these too. Because if we want to shift the gender stereotypes about women in leadership, we have to see women in positions of power for kids. Because then they're like, hey, she did that, I can coach. I can make my living coaching. I can play hockey. If we don't see women on the ice or in positions of power, then our gender stereotypes get perpetuated. So what I'm advocating for, and this is something you need to talk to your parents about, invite the women to coach, right? So like, oh, we need a coach for that U8 team. Let's call the Johnsons. Call the Johnsons. Hey, Bob, you want to coach the U8 team? Oh, wait. No, first, Mary answers. Hey, Mary, can you put Bob on the line? Hey, Bob, you want to coach the team? Why not ask Mary? Women tell us they want to coach, but they're never being asked. And they never see themselves in that role. I have college teammates who, we all coach tennis out of college. Now they have kids. Like, why aren't you coaching your own kids in tennis? I don't know. I never thought about it. Well, get out there and do it, right? You get to spend valuable, quality time with your kids. Get out there. And a couple of them are like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to. So encourage your women to coach. Because less than 20% of all female coaches are women. The hockey level, 24.5 NCAA hockey coaches are women. Not many. What is it in USA hockey?
Around 4% of youth coaches are females.
4. Okay, so we have some room for growth. That's the good news. Okay? But women will not coach unless you give them the opportunity, invite them, and mentor them in things like this. So, thank you again. Another thing for the women in the room and for men who will go back with women and your staff, there's a new group called the Women's Coaching Alliance. You can Google it if you want more information on that. It's a network and educational opportunity for female coaches because there's so few. This is a great network of amazing women in all sports, not just hockey. Okay, we talked about sport-parent influence. Now let's talk about the climate. In the sports psychology literature, we have what we call the sport parent-created climate. We have a coach-created climate. I'm going to talk about the parent climate today. These behaviors, yelling, fighting, intoxication, yelling at the kids, yelling at the ref, yelling at the coach. At Minnesota, we borrowed from a child development theory, and we call this background anger. And this is how the kids tell us what background anger is. This is what they hear. Okay? They hear and see a lot of yelling. Even if it's not directed at them. So if I'm yelling at you, but you have 10 other teammates, they're hearing it, right? And what we know from background anger and child development is that the exposure to yelling is very stressful to children. They don't like it. We're going to hear from them on the Kids Speak research, which is Diane and one of our colleagues, Jens Omley. So what is background anger? Background anger is the presence of verbal, nonverbal, or physical conflict between two individuals that doesn't directly involve the observer. So if we're fighting in the stands and the kids can see it, that's background anger. If I'm yelling at the referee and the kids can hear it, that's background anger. And these pictures are part of a, you might have seen them around, right? The fighting dads, the yelling mom, and the yelling dad. And one of our doctoral students at Minnesota used these pictures to ask kids how they felt and how it affected their feelings and their performance. And so he asked them, how does this background anger affect you? These were ice hockey kids. Versus a normal game where you don't experience background anger. And he used those pictures and he showed the kids each picture and had them respond. The boys and girls, about the ages we're talking about here. And what he found was not surprising, but it's troubling. And there's a lot of data on here, but the stars are significant differences between boys and girls, is that girls felt less energized and more distressed when they saw the background anger. Okay? Now, boys also did, but girls felt this to a greater degree. What they also found is that when they saw the background anger, their performance went down, they had less fun, and they played with less intensity. And for girls, this was more significant than for boys. Now, we don't know if it's just because girls are more likely to report it or they pick up on it more. We're not sure what the mechanism is, but there certainly seems to be some trends. And when they saw the angry dad had the most effect out of the fighting dads, the screaming mom, and the yelling dad. And it took away from performance. They had less fun, and they played with less intensity. So this data starts painting the picture that we need parents to stop this kind of background anger behavior on the sidelines because it affects the climate of the kids. They don't like it. Okay? Yes?
I just want to make sure I'm seeing the shades right. So the single angry dad affects them more than a couple of dads actually fighting.
Right. So this is fighting dads. This is yelling mom, and this is the yelling dad. So the yelling dad up against the glass affects kids the most. Okay. Yes.
You think that's an embarrassment factor versus?
Yes. Well, that's part of it.
Right.
They're embarrassed. They're distracted. You know, you're coming into the boards to get the puck, and it's like, hey, Dad, I gotta get the puck, right? So they're distracted. Diane, did I get that right? Okay. Yeah.
Is that with seeing parents from the other team as well?
Doesn't matter if it's your parent or another parent. Remember, because it's background anger. So if you're the opposing parent and you're doing this, I'm seeing it too. So that's the cool thing about background anger. It doesn't have to be your parent. It's any parent. So again, shifting the climate of sport parent behavior and getting parents to A, realize what they're doing, B, how it affects their kids, and then C, holding each other accountable for not doing those things because it's really bad for the climate.